Hey everyone, it's Tracy with Weaver Design Company and welcome to my channel. What you will see on this channel is residential drafting and design. That is what I do for a living, and I started a YouTube channel to show people what is possible and kind of the insides of being a designer and drafter. I also act as a liaison between homeowners and contractors when you are doing a remodel or planning a remodel or perhaps a new build. So today, I just wanted to show you what it's like to work on an as-built plan and some of the things that go into that. I want to show a lot of camera views today, and I also want to show the exterior portion this time. So what you're looking at right now is a 3D rendering in the physical camera of this particular floor plan that I've been working on. And again, this one came from Reddit also. I don't know what it is about Reddit, but there's a plethora of floor plans on there. And I don't know who did this one. It's just for educational purposes. So let's get into this one. I will flip over to the 2D portion. And here it is. It's a pretty big floor plan. And I drafted it exactly how they showed it on their plan. So it has a second story. Some of the second story dimensions didn't really line up with how they had it on the first floor, so I just did the best I could. Used my best judgment there. So if we want to go through this one here, we'll come down to the entry. This is, like I said, 2 stories. There's no basement. Pretty big house. It has like 4 bedrooms in it. So, and some of this I haven't finished quite yet, and that's because it's still a working as-built plan, but I just wanted to show you what I have done so far. So here's our entry, and it called out that it was open to the second story, and it also shows on the second story a window right there, so that tells me that I have to go all the way up to the second story with that. We've got a bedroom here. This is actually the main floor bathroom, and it has a tiny shower in it. Toilet would be here, vanity here. This right here, they called out for a flex room, so maybe use that as an office or just a quiet space or maybe a library. Then we come over here. This they had listed as a great room, so I just called it living room. They also showed that it was a vaulted ceiling, and none of the ceiling heights were specified. So for this area, I didn't want it to be the full height up to the second story, so I dropped it down just a little bit because I thought it would be more interesting from the exterior view. And then we have our kitchen here, which I really love this kitchen because it's symmetrical. I'm one of those symmetrical people. I don't know if you are, but I sure am. And if you watch my last video, I think it's the one where I was talking about the new construction house with the kitchen island and how they didn't center the island. Well, this one is centered and it looks really nice. So this is what I was talking about in the last video, what you should do in my opinion. So we come over here. This is the dining room. I felt like it was pretty big. I felt like they added a lot of windows too. So I'll show you my interpretation of that in a second. Then we come over here. This will be considered the primary bedroom. It's really big, so that was nice. And then we've got 2 separate walk-in closets, and I'll let you guess whose is whose. To me, I feel like it's a little unfair if we're making the guys have the smaller closet. I think they have just as many things that they would like to store. Of course, they could always share, so that's just my opinion though. So over here we have the master bathroom or primary bathroom, and it does show pedestal tub, kind of like the last video that I showed you where the tub sits on the flooring. And you'd have cabinet here, water closet with the toilet would go here. And we come over here, this is a garage, and we come in from the garage into this hallway, which they showed lockers right here and then a little drop zone right here. And I don't know, I felt like this was kind of a waste of space. So if it was me, I would actually move this over and make it just make the laundry room a little bigger. I just didn't see the point of that small of a space right there. This here, they showed us a walk-in closet, and this is a pantry, and it called out for a barn door, so that's the symbol for the barn door. Now, one of the things that I found interesting about this plan was the stairs were kind of hidden. Normally, we see stairs as kind of a focal point, especially if they're going upstairs, and you'll have to let me know what you guys think about that. But I found it interesting that they have it over here where you don't even really know that they're there. And I found it interesting also that the laundry was clear over here away from all of the bedrooms. So if I were to remodel this, I would probably redo this area and maybe this area too. This, they could maybe make that a bedroom. It'd be kind of awkward though, right off the entry. But if it has a big enough egress window, that would be doable. But if I were to remodel this one, in Chief Architect, it would be this area here. Another thing I noticed with this plan, they didn't call out for mechanical anywhere. So, okay, where are we putting your heating and air and your water heater and that type of thing? I don't really know because they didn't call out for it. So here's the second story. So if we were to take a look at this really quick, so as you can see, let me turn the reference view on. So the red here indicates the main level that we were just looking at and how these line up with the main level floor. So shut that off real quick. So we come up the stairs, and the way they had the stairs to me wasn't quite long enough for the amount of room they had. So it pushed them clear over here. And again, I don't know what the ceiling heights were set to in this plan, so I just did them at 8 foot and left them that way. But we have 2 bedrooms up here with their closets. This here would be double vanity. They call out double vanity right here. This would be toilet and tub. So I don't know if you'd like that or not, if you'd want those separated or not. But again, this is something I would probably try to redo also. I felt like this hallway is kind of awkward. But it is what it is, and that's what I drafted. So let's go back down to the main level. So you'll have to tell me if you are one of those people that you cannot, like, you look at this plan and you don't know how to interpret that. Do you have trouble looking at floor plans, or can you visualize what they could look like in 3D or not? I know that's where my brain lives all the time, so it's super easy for me to do that, but I know there's people out there who can't see things. So let me know if you are one of those people. Let's flip over to, let's see here. Let's go back to this camera here. So you've heard me talk about cameras before. So this is the physical camera, and it makes things look very realistic. So like our faucet here, I don't know if you can see my pointer. No, there it is. So you're going to see the metal finishes, the reflections. You'll see reflections on countertops. You can see the sink here has reflections in it, which is really cool. The backsplash has reflections. So it just makes it more realistic. And what it's doing multiple samples in over several seconds. So it's kind of tracing the screen, if you will. Now, if I flip over to my standard camera, let's see if I can find that one. Here's our standard camera. So if I move to that same location, it's very basic. The computer uses less memory to operate it, so it's just what I call the video game camera, or the Sims camera, if you ever played that game. And it doesn't show it realistically, so you can tell the difference in the faucet there. It was called a champagne bronze finish, whereas this is polished stainless steel on the sink. So those finishes go away pretty much, but it shows everything else pretty well. So if we pan around the room, these are all things that I chose for this house. I like to add a lot of either black or burnt umber or charcoal into my floor plans. That's just me. That's my personal taste. But I also like to mix it with natural colors like the wood floor. I think it looks really cool. One thing I wanted to show you, and this is something that I do when I'm drafting for people. So say you have a very specific tile that you want to see rendered. I happened to find this tile here. Let me show you. It's an Emser tile, and I just love it. I think it's really cool. So it's an encaustic, or what we call deco tile. And this is what I use to create this. So if you actually find something online that you like, I can take that and turn it into a material in my floor plan. So this is a, it's called Riddler 6x6 gem. There's other colors here, but I kind of liked this one. In 6x6, that means it's 6 inches by 6 inches. So what I have to do is bring this material in. I actually make it so that it looks like it's grouted, and I can change the grout colors. For this particular one, if we zoom in here, I just chose a grayish to match the lighter gray, but you could do black, white, whatever color you want, pretty much. I can render it. And the important thing is that it's scaled properly, because if you're not a visual person, you're not going to be able to see this tile in your room. Now, to me, this tile's a little small for this entry, but that's part of why we do this, is to see, okay, what is this going to look like? And I'll just show you here the specs for this. So this is our tile menu, and it's going to, here's my dimensions. I did 6 1/4 because I needed to show the grout too. So the grout takes up some length, so that's important to include that. And let's see, I can also change it to matte or polished based on whatever the properties are of the tile. So this one is a matte tile, so that's what I'm going to show, is a matte finish. And like I said, I can change this to a bigger tile if I wanted to, but then it wouldn't be correct for your space, because in real life it is not bigger. So anyway, this is just one of the important things if you hire a designer or somebody like me who can 3D render for you, that if you're having trouble seeing it, that it is rendered properly into the right scale. But this is just one of the things that I can do for people. And actually, I want to show you, I'm just curious myself. I can flip this over here. So, okay, say we want this tile to be bigger. So say it does come bigger. So if I want to make this 12 by 12, which I think would look more appropriate, I would come over here and change it to 12 by 12. And it's going to make it bigger, hopefully. There we go. So there's 12 by 12. And another thing I can also do is offset the pattern. So say you needed to be, say your tile person wants to center it off your door. Okay, well, I can offset that so that it's coming off of your door. So, and it's more important with deco tiles like that to show the actual pattern, because if it doesn't look right, if it doesn't look right here, it's not going to look right in your house either. So anyway, I just wanted to show that to you, and I'm going to put that back to the appropriate size because it only comes in 6 by 6. But this is just one of the many things that I can do for people. And in my last video, or maybe it was my interview video, I kind of laid out the differences between designers and decorators. This is a really good example. So decorators are going to be picking out maybe some of these materials or softer materials, whereas people like me are actually going to apply it in real life and the technicalities of it too. So I also made this backsplash too, just to show you, and it's a 3 by 12. So here again, you have to scale it properly, because if you don't, it's not going to look right on your wall. So I want to flip over to my technical camera. So this is just black and white technical. It takes up less memory when it's on. And I wanted to pan over here for just a second. So when we're designing, specifically with cabinets, one thing I like to point out is the use of fillers. So if I zoom in here, so you see my camera's pointed towards my refrigerator. One thing homeowners don't think about is clearance of appliances. And this is a big one here. So this is wall to wall, a cabinet run that's wall to wall. We have to use fillers, especially when it's a full overlaid door, for clearance, door clearance. And in this case, I have a filler in my wall cabinet right here, and then right here on this tall cabinet. But what I want you to look at, make sure I click the right camera. So we have plenty of clearance above, right? Most refrigerators are just shy of 36 inches, which I feel like they keep getting bigger and bigger. So what we have to do is either use, if they make it in a pre-finish, a 37-inch cabinet, or what I do is a 36-inch cabinet, and I fill the side to bump it off the wall. Now, the other thing that homeowners don't really think about are your baseboards. So I might have a filler above, but when I come down here, I have my baseboard that's going to bump my appliance off of the wall too. So right there, I don't know how thick that is, maybe 1/2 inch, 3/4, I don't know. But just think about that too. You have to have clearance top and bottom if you have an appliance there. So, and over here, if we look at this corner, so your standard toe kick on a cabinet, so this is your toe kick down here, is 4 inches usually. And what if your baseboard is taller than your toe kick? Okay, so if you were to have a full overlaid door right here and your baseboard is taller, you have to fill that, or your door is going to hit your baseboard, and it's going to look really bad. Now, these cabinets here are inset, which they're some of my favorite cabinets to use. It shows the doors are inset in line with the face frame, and to me it looks really nice and really classy. And I think it's a cool way to show off your hardware too. So if I were to flip back over, I don't know if you can see that on your screen, it's kind of dark, but anyway, I think they look really nice. It's one of my favorites to use. But yeah, fillers are super duper important, and I don't think most homeowners know about that. And then clearance for your appliances, it's super important too, and doorways too. So let's see here. So I wanted to show you the exterior. So you can see something in 2D like this, but how does that translate to exterior? You don't know what's gabled, what's not, how tall this is versus this. So I kind of interpreted it my own way. And we'll see here. Here's my outdoor camera. So that's a framing camera, which is really cool. Let's find our other camera. Here we go. So one thing we can do in Chief is turn the lights off or turn them on and make it dark outside, or turn the sun off if you want to put it that way. So here I've turned the daylight back on, and this is my physical camera, so it's rendering it several different passes. I can denoise that for your guys' sake. And you can see here, depending on the sun intensity, it can kind of wash out your colors. Let's move this over. I did add a background to this too. We'll denoise it again. So this is my interpretation of the exterior. So everything here, I've decided the way that it looks. I'll flip this over to the turning the sun off. So then we get this really cool view with the lights on and the exterior lights on. And if I were to do this, I would probably put a patio back here. I think that would look really neat. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So yeah, it kind of just shows you what it might look like at nighttime, which is neat. So one thing I want to point out to you, let's flip over to our standard camera. This is standard camera at night, so I'm going to turn the sun back on. So standard camera during the day. So last week, when I was mentioning, or maybe the week before, design versus decorator, this is kind of what I was talking about. So when we're using Chief or whatever program you might use, we're having to figure out a lot of technical stuff. And as I've said before, I'm kind of in between architect and decorator. I'm just kind of right in the middle. But Chief Architect has an auto build roof button or tool. And if you use Chief, you know what I'm talking about, but sometimes it just doesn't work very well. And this roof was very complicated because I've got different heights. So garage height's different than the rest of the house. I made this room a different height than the rest of the house. And we've got some open to the second story too. So I have to accommodate all of that. I have to think about how is this going to work on my floor plan. So I can hit the auto build roof button, but that doesn't mean it's going to look good. So I actually had to build this roof myself. And I think it turned out pretty cool. And we also have technical view outside too. So you can really see all the lines. We can do watercolor camera, which is a combination of your standard camera and your line drawing or hand line drawing. Here's hand drawn. So anyway, a lot of different camera views we can use. There's duotone, which is kind of your black and white or grayscale, whatever you want to call it. There's also glass house, which I actually use this a lot when things don't line up very good or there's something weird going on. I can actually just see through it and see where the issue is. So this allows you to see through it, which is cool. Also, we have our elevation view. So straight on view. I added a little tree over here. But yeah, this was my interpretation of the plan that I saw. So you'll have to let me know if this is what you were thinking it was going to look like too. And then one other one I wanted to show you, which I showed it a second ago. So this is the perspective framing camera, which I think is really cool. I think framing in general is really interesting. It's the skeleton of your house. And this shows your headers, anything load bearing. Obviously it shows the foundation. So just another cool view. I don't really use this very often, but I wanted to show it to you. So this camera view here actually translates to what we call the flooring, the framing layer of our floor. So here we see our walls without sheetrock. So these are studs every 16 inches. And then you'll see double studs, and then a doorway, you'll see cripple or jack stud and the king stud and the header above it. And it's really interesting. But what I like to do for people, specifically for my contractors, is I like to provide a framing floor plan. So just like this dimension here, it's stud to stud. So you know exactly what it's supposed to be on the inside and the outside if I pull that dimension too. And the plan that I normally show you is the working plan view, which is this one. And if I zoom in here, this little layer right here is 1/2 inch sheetrock. So I provide that also, and I do that so that when you're doing cabinets, countertops, flooring, fixtures, everything is accurate and you're free to order things and quote things appropriately because you already know you've been given the framing dimensions and you're given the finished dimensions too. So there shouldn't be any issues with things fitting properly. So that's just one thing I like to do. I don't know if you're a designer, maybe you do that too. But I think it's really important to show those two different layers to people. I think it makes their job a little easier. So anyway, those are some of the things I wanted to show you today based on this floor plan. I might remodel this one. I don't know. You'll have to let me know if you like this one. Does it bother you? On Reddit, they were kind of annoyed with it. I don't know. It's okay to me, but you'll have to let me know what you guys think. And again, if you're one of those people who can't see things 3D, let me know too. I'm just curious on that because that's where I live all the time. So it's hard for me to not think about it that way. But is this house from this floor plan, is it what you pictured the exterior to be? Again, it's just my interpretation of it as a designer. That's what I would do. But yeah, you'll have to let me know what you guys think. And let me know if you guys have any ideas on other videos. I'm, as always, very open to that. And you'll have to let me know what you think of this and some of my other videos. Go back and watch those too. But I just wanted to thank you guys for watching what you've watched so far and subscribing and all of that fun stuff. So share my videos if they're helpful. But yeah, that's what I got for you today, and we'll see you on the next one.